No. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your friend Mike Brady from Oceanliner Designs. So there I was on holiday, just, minding my own business, when I came across content on YouTube and Facebook that could be described only as, horrors beyond human comprehension.
What is that? What the?
So it's been a really big, intense month. We've been looking at the Titanic story from a few different angles. There's been a lot of intense, in-depth videos. So I thought today we'd do something a little more fun. And I thought I'd just rant at the camera for 30 minutes. So buckle up. I don't know if you've heard of the dead internet theory. The dead internet theory says that, in essence, eventually the internet will just end up being a bunch of bots and AI accounts all shouting at one another. And we've already kind of seen it. Facebook is now almost unusable because it's just full of bots just screaming at each other and AI content. And no more obvious is that fact than in Titanic land. In Titanic content online, you will see almost everywhere just poorly thought out, badly compiled AI garbage. And I, for one, am sick of it. AI has come a long way in the last couple of years, sure, from Will Smith eating spaghetti to Will Smith eating spaghetti in a more realistic way. We're just starting to see more and more of it online. So I've loaded up some horrors beyond human comprehension as created by AI. And we want to look at the question, does this add anything of value to the historical record, to the online community, to the way that we even interpret history? Is this of any benefit whatsoever? Or is this kind of stuff just really setting a kind of almost dangerous precedent for the way that we understand history? Let's have a click through and look at the different kinds of AI on Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and see if we can answer that question. Let's take a look. So the first kind that's really prevalent is what I'd call like the compilation Facebook page. It seems to be like a bot run or AI run Facebook page or group that's just compiling a ton of just content and stuff that it's scraping from online. It's misattributing it and it's dumping it all in one page that ends up getting hundreds of thousands of followers. So this one has a fun backstory to it. So back in 2021 or 2022, I made a drawing of the Titanic showing the bow of the ship buried in the mud on the seafloor, the little guy standing next to it, to give you an idea of like the scale of the wreck. We've all seen like this angle, so I wanted to show what it, like would look like if you were standing in front of it. And this picture has just like gone around and around and around in a massive circle because somebody then transplanted somebody else's drawing of the bow underneath mine to make it show what's underneath the mud. They put their own logo on it. Then somebody took that logo off and put their own on it, and it's just gone on and on and on for now like a couple of years. And in its latest iteration, you can see here it is, the Facebook page Ocean Fight is like a serial offender for this kind of thing. They just repost stuff and put their own logo on it. And you can actually see somebody has scribbled, if you look really carefully, you can see somebody has scribbled my original watermark out using Microsoft Paint or something. The image is credited to Justin Fitz. So Justin, I congratulate you on your spectacular drawing. The page Ocean Fight is like one of a couple that all seem to just like pump out Titanic and ship content at an extraordinary rate. We're going to look at a few of them. They've all got names with the word ocean in them, and I'm like 90% sure they're run by the same group of people. Do I think Titanic looks like that under the mud? No way. The stem would have been pushed in and broken and bent up, and I never would have made this drawing. I just wanted to show the top half to show you kind of like what it looks like. But this is just the tip of the Titanic AI Facebook page's iceberg, because then we get to this stuff. So this is Ocean Connection, which has put out a comparison of two different pictures just covered in Ocean Fight's logo. And we'll have a look through and read this. I can't get through this. We'll read the caption together. Ocean Connection says the steering stand on the Titanic, like on most ships, was a key component in controlling the direction of the vessel. Which is true, I guess, but it was essentially a manual control mechanism used by the officers of the ship to control the rudder, which in turn steered the ship. It's a bit like saying, you know, the steering wheel on a car is critical for controlling the direction of the car. The primary functions of the steering stand on Titanic were, number one, direction control. The steering stand allowed the ship's officers to control the rudder, which determined the direction of the ship. By turning the wheel, the officer could change the ship's course. Number two, ship maneuvering, which is different to direction control, apparently. It played a crucial role in maneuvering the Titanic. This is, of course, maneuvering being very different to changing directions. It played a crucial role in maneuvering the Titanic, especially when navigating through narrow passages. Number three, this is where things get a little batty. Communication with the engine room. In some instances, the steering stand was also integrated with communication systems, which allowed the officer to communicate with the engine room, such as ordering the ship to stop or reverse in specific situations. This is all garbage. I know you guys know this is garbage. Number four, emergency control. During the emergency when Titanic struck the iceberg, the steering stand would have been crucial in trying to maneuver the ship to avoid further damage, or steer it toward potential rescue. The steering stand was traditionally manned by the ship's officers, such as the first officer or the officer of the watch, and it was located on the bridge of the ship. Oy vey. So, yeah. So this is the kind of thing. So that's a Facebook page with like over 100,000, I don't know exactly how many followers, which has just like pumped out this absolute garbage and used Vasily Ristovic, I think that's how you say his name, Vasily Ristovic's beautiful render of the bridge here. They've credited him as Vasil de Ristovic. So they've given him like more of a French, almost kind of French, like Vasil de Ristovic name. Just garbage, just garbage. It makes me so mad. It just makes me upset. Okay, this is now look, just in case you needed to know where Titanic broke apart, Ocean Fight have very handily provided us with a nice red circle to explain. Just in case you couldn't see it, this is another one of my drawings. Thankfully, it's very kind of them. They have not taken off my watermark or my website, but they have slapped their logo on it. And then it's been reposted on Ocean Connection. They did credit me though, that's nice. This is like a really interesting kind of trend. This is like Facebook pages harvesting stuff online and just like regurgitating it. There's misinformation mixed in with stuff that is pretty legitimate. So I don't really know what the end game here is. I don't even know if this is actually AI or being run by a real person. All I'm gonna say is it's pretty weird to have Ocean Connection, Ocean Fight, and Ocean Man. That's a real Facebook page name, Ocean Man.
Ocean Man.
Here's an interesting one for you. This is a user called Katami, and I don't know how I feel about this. So Katami for the past month has been generating like restored, colorized, AI versions of famous photographs that we've seen lots of times of the Titanic and her crew. And I just don't know how I feel about it. So here's why, right? These are all based on real photos, but let's pull one up to give you a good example. Where's a good one? All right, this one here. So this is Titanic's Captain Smith standing next to the chief purser, McElroy. And this AI improvement just totally messes up these guys' faces. Like they just look nothing like the real people. The metals are wrong, the deck light behind them has turned into a clock. Inexplicably, it just doesn't look like them and it's wrong. And so, how long until these AI improvements get sucked back into the system, get reposted by Ocean Fight or Ocean Man, as a legitimate picture of the Titanic? This is really nothing against the original poster, I guess. This is like a fun thing to experiment with, but this kind of just gives me the creeps. Super Uncanny Valley vibes, right? This is, you know, the ship in the background there on this one, just not right. I guess that one's okay, I guess. But, you know, these could be human colorizations. Like, there are some really great colorizers out there, like Oceanic Styline, who do beautiful colorization work. And this stuff, I mean, this is just garbled. You know, that is just wrong. You know, this one here is you know, a enhancement of a real photograph again, and I guess it kind of looks like Murdoch there on the right and kind of looks like Lightoller on the left, but it just messes them up and just doesn't make them look quite right. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about this stuff. I think, you know, like, this is a really good example. This is a based on a picture of Olympic in 1913, which was, you know, 1912, I forget, but she was like practicing lowering and raising her boats. And the AI has made this image, here's the original, objectively worse. Like, it's just garbled it and messed it all up. I don't know, is this adding to the historical record, or is this actually, you know, posing a risk of changing the way that we see the past for future generations, you know? Because photographs don't lie, you know? They can be manipulated, I guess, but they, you know, they are like the real person's face. If we look at some of these, you know, improvements, you know, this is a really good example. Just doesn't look like the guy. It doesn't look like him. It's just reshaping the face and, you know, adding details where there aren't any. And it's, yeah, it's hitting Uncanny Valley stuff. It's cool to see these old pictures in some ways, you know, like restored, I guess, but I don't know how I feel about this, because I just know that it's only a matter of time before it enters the, you know, the historical record as like the photograph. All it takes is for somebody to, you know, put black and white, slap black and white over this picture, and it will be reprinted in books inevitably as, you know, the real photograph when it's not. Check this out. This is the Instagram account for RMS Titanic Inc., who have exclusive salvage rights on the wreck of the ship. They own all these artifacts and display them. They posted a profile on chief designer Thomas Andrews and used this AI generated up detail of this famous portrait of him, and it looks nothing like him. These guys are doing it, you know. This just shouldn't be acceptable. So bizarre. Look at this. Look at the clock. 1, 2, 5, 4, 5. It's just insane. Really weird. This stuff creeps me out. I'm not gonna lie. Creeps me out. You know, this is a really good example. This is Harold Bride at the US Senate inquiry. And I think in the original picture, I think he might be sitting next to Harold Cottam, the guy on the right there. You know, the guy on the right in this AI image doesn't look anything like the one in the photograph. And Harold Bride looks really off as well. You know, it's not totally off, but it just tweaks him, makes him... Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this stuff. Again, I don't really want to have a crack at this person for doing this. I'm just saying, you know... Then there's like mixed in AI from the movie. This is a still from the movie Titanic that's been AI-ified, and if you really take a close look, you will see more horrors beyond human comprehension. So, does this really matter? You know, like, this is an actual news channel, WFLA, and instead of engaging an illustrator or an artist or a team like mine or Titanic Honor and Glories or anyone who makes these beautiful actual visuals of Titanic that human hands actually made, they've just pumped out this garbage and used this as their display picture for this on this date thing about the Titanic, saying on this date, 11:40 p.m, Titanic struck an iceberg that sliced open the ship's frame and sank it, which is already a pretty poor explanation of what happened. And then look at the picture. It just is ridiculous. The Titanic's got 5 funnels and it's just in like a storm, and you know, what can I say? I mean, aside from presenting the scene as like inaccurately as possible, it just makes me sad. You know, this could have been Ken Marshall's painting that they contacted Ken and credited him, or it could be the Titanic Honor and Glory animation, or literally anything else. But they just relied on like the, you know, the cheap and cheerful option. It's not even cheerful, the cheap and soulless, creepy, uncanny valley option. I hate it so much. This kind of feels like low-hanging fruit. Brightside is a well-known YouTube channel and fabricator of garbage. And I'm not going to go too far into it, but we will watch this because this is one of their YouTube videos about Titanic. It's called What Titanic Survivors Saw When Titanic Was Sinking. I'm not really going to listen to it. I'm just going to look at the visuals. I'm going to turn it down. You guys will be able to hear it. I will not. We'll see how long it takes for me to be insulted by this video. 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Again, you know, instead of hiring an animator, instead of engaging with an actual person or a historian or anybody to make this scene, they've just plugged in an AI and it just pumps this out with a beautiful big moon beaming on what was a moonless night.
The Titanic strikes the ice.
They're cutting scenes from the movie.
Oh. Locked up. There aren't enough lifeboats for everyone. Panic sets in.
No. I mean, you have to laugh or else you cry. I mean, it's so ridiculous. You've got a concert, like an actual concert playing on what ostensibly looks like a cruise ship on the outside. Cutting in parts from the film. Is that meant to be James Cameron? No.
Titanic like the back of our hand by now. But what if I told you that Hollywood lied to us?
Oh, man, like they couldn't even get an image of James Cameron or a bit of footage. You know, it's interesting though, because I don't know how successful this stuff is. 1.3 million views. No, surely not. 1.3 million views. These are like AI scenes from the movie. They've AI-ified the film. That's not even... Oh, I don't even know what to say. It's... I guess the reason this upsets me so much is because it's so... so disingenuous to talk about historic events and show this, you know, fabricated, mixed up, uncanny valley computer rubbish and present this as fact. And nowhere in this description does it mention any of this being AI or misrepresented or altered. Animation is created by Brightside. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. This is just really dishonest, really disingenuous stuff. The comments are not calling them out. You know, the comments are pretty reasonable comments. And I don't know. I don't know if I'm just being salty because we put a lot of effort into our videos and, you know, you're lucky if a video gets 1.3 million views. 1.3 million views, guys. And we spend heaps of time writing and animating and, you know, and then this just gets cranked out en masse and it's funny. Like, for people like us, it's funny and it's bizarre to see bits of the film, you know, cut into this AI stuff. But man, it's just so sad. Like, is this really where we're headed? You know, like showing a picture of Frank Prentice, who is a real guy, and showing this AI generated person is just so bizarre. Like, look at this. How is this acceptable? Just like calmly walking through the water. The women just standing there like in awe. So This is almost in the same vein, I guess. This is a TikTok. Now, I'm certainly not really from the TikTok generation. Don't really use it. You can tell because I'm not logged in and I'm watching it on my browser. But here is POV, you wake up on the Titanic. This is kind of like a fun little trend that's taken off. There have been TikTok and Instagram pages and things like that, which will use AI to recreate historic scenes and do it as if somebody was vlogging and like filming themselves waking up in the morning. Again, just walking around like this. There is just so much wrong with this. So many people have seen this. It's got 346,000 likes, which means this has to have been seen 2 or 3 million times. You hear the gasp? No! Come on. It sounds like a ridiculous thing to be getting upset about. But this is how young people really ingest and learn about the past. This is the kind of stuff that people watch that will help form their idea of what it was like to be on Titanic. This has been seen by a lot of people. Triple wielding forks? Was he eating with 3 forks? I didn't even see that the first time around. This is the way that people interpret history now. And it will shape the way that we see it into the future. And this is a little bit concerning. This is on a much smaller channel now. So this is being presented as factual content again, right? It's talking about Californian. Again, there's just something kind of off-putting about this stuff. Instead of, again, like engaging real people to animate or to do anything, they've just gone for the most soulless option. And they're all weird, the visuals are just so off. So you gotta ask yourself, right? Is this really adding anything to the historic community or record that is of any benefit? Is there anything about this that is nothing more than just like, creating stuff and just throwing it at us? I was on Reddit looking at Titanic AI stuff on the Titanic subreddit, and I found my favorite comment so far, just as an aside, where somebody says, because without AI, Titanic would just be Titanic. Here's another one. This is being presented as actual historic footage. They've got the jitteriness right, as if this were filmed on real, 16 frames per second footage. It's just so weird. It's just a really uncanny valley. Tuantic was called the Ship of Dreams. So this is a YouTube and Instagram account, I think, called History in Motion. And they use AI to interpret photographs that were taken aboard Titanic and bring them to life. So let's take a look and see what these are like. This actually isn't a photograph from the Titanic. This is from another liner. This is that same picture that we saw of Smith and McElroy. It does a better job on their faces, and it is spooky seeing them, brought to life like this. This one has turned, I think it was Jack O'Dell on the right into a middle-aged woman. It is kind of cool to see this stuff. This is an interesting use of AI, I think, using it to bring photographs to life. It's not going to be very long before we start seeing this in like Netflix documentaries and things like that, is it? So that's amazing because it interpreted the coats being flipped over there in that picture. Obviously it was windy on Olympics Bridge, and it knew that the coats were being blown in the wind. That's pretty spooky. Look at that. And it doesn't mess with their faces that much, which I appreciate, So it has its limitations, but I've seen this picture a million times, and it is pretty eerie seeing it in motion like that. Yeah, like these photographs taken from, 1904. I think this is kind of cool. It's adding limited motion. It's not totally reinterpreting the scene. It's not totally ruining these guys' faces. It has its limitations. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. It's a far cry from this, whatever this is. There we go. This is the most replayed section of the video. Oh God, look at that guy's face. Okay, no, stop. So, Titanic AI content. It's absolutely out of control. It's everywhere. You can't really get away from it. It's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I don't really know how I feel about the, bringing the photographs to life angle. I kind of dig. I think that's kind of, an interesting way of using the technology, and it's clever. It's clever. But this, generating imagery just for the sake of filling up a YouTube video that goes for 8 minutes or 10 minutes to try and get as much engagement as possible. I feel like it's just engagement baiting. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just generating this kind of image so that people will just comment and say, oh, you messed up their faces, or oh, this is wrong. And so by commenting more, it will just generate more and more traction in the algorithm. And that's all it's about. It's the algorithm. It's about driving engagement. It's endless. Anyway, I don't really know what this video was meant to be. It's just turned into me ranting for 30 minutes and reacting to horrifying imagery. Really horrifying. What have we got? There's more. There is more. Like, pay an animator, guys. Get somebody in to even just, like simple history style, like drawing this stuff, or engage somebody like us, or Titanic Honor and Glory, or somebody who makes this stuff, but you should engage an animator. You should pay an animator. You should engage a real person, not generate this stuff. Hopefully, people will learn to just immediately thumbs this stuff down and click right off, because 1.3 million views on this is outrageous. That is shocking. And not the top comment being, what is this? You know what I mean? Not the top comment being, wow, this is horrifying. Thank you for attending this TED rant. It's not a TED talk, it's a TED rant. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is there a place for AI in the Titanic story, in our understanding of history? Do you think bringing photographs back to life with AI is even ethical? Is it changing the way we see history? Is it going to be, changing the way these people look in future? Will there come a time where we won't know what was the original picture of Harold Bride or what was the AI interpretation of Harold Bride? Slap a black and white photograph over that picture of Harold Bride that was made by AI, give it to a newspaper to print, and they'll say it's the original picture of Harold Bride. And then 100 years later, people will look at that and say, this is the real guy. But it's not. It's kind of like a digital erasure and then replacement of a real person's actual face. And if it can happen to McElroy, or, E.J. Smith, Captain Smith, or Harold Bride, or Cottam, or any of those people, it can happen to us. Does it set a scary precedent? I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm just a YouTuber who likes looking at creepy, weird, scary AI people. Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much for watching this. It's been a confused, weird video. Hopefully it comes out in editing. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. As always, stay safe. Stay happy. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'll see you again next time. Cheerio.